Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Great to have you in our SAP Community YouTube stream. After a summer break, we would like to welcome you to the next episode of the Deep Dives into End-to-End Processes with SAP webcast series. This webcast series, entitled End-to-End Processes Deep Dives, was launched in May 2023, and I will post the link to the entire schedule in the chat shortly. Our topic for today is on the business process called Source-to-Pay. Integration-driven business value for digital source-to-pay processes. My name is Larissa Brinkmann from the SAP Global User Groups organization, and I'm your host. Before handing over to our speakers, let me share a few householding rules. We kindly ask you to post your questions via live chat, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. The additional materials of this session, like the PDF, will be available under the same link in the description to the video of today's sessions shortly after the stream is finished. I will also post the link to all the series to all the sessions of the series in the chat. Now we move into the actual topic with our experts. Our experts for today are Thilo Karschunke, who is Director and Enterprise Architect for SAP Procurement Solutions at SAP, and Carsten Puschke, who is Director of SAP Business Technology Platform Product Management. With this, I wish you great interaction and kindly ask Carsten to take over.
Thank you, Larissa. So let me also send you some greetings, wishes here from Dresden, as Thilo and myself are based in the eastern part of Germany. We hope that we can run together with you and have fun together with you by diving a bit more deeper into the topic of Source-to-Pay, which is actually our second business process that we are now covering. Some of you may remember that we started with Recruit to Retire, now continuing with Source-to-Pay, and then also at the end of the year covering Lead to Cash as well as the Design to Operate. Thilo, could you please show the next one? All right, little disclaimer, and the next one is about why we are talking about integrated business processes. Since we've had so many acquisitions in the recent decade, there were customer demands towards us with regards to integration aspects, and that covers almost every area of the respective landscape, being it the UI, being it the data management, being it out-of-the-box integration, user management, security and identity management. And this is what we would like to explicitly bring closer to you, that there are dedicated efforts underway by SAP in order to improve the offering of an integrated portfolio. Next one, Thilo. Good. And that results in our SAP integration strategy, where we holistically offer a foundation, which is the business technology platform, which then gets supporting the cloud ERP system, our S4HANA core, and then facilitated by the various solution areas, being it human capital management, spend management that we will cover in more detail today, or customer relationship management aspects. And that all then results in what you benefit from, end-to-end integrated and also AI-powered business processes. And if you look at the right side of the slide, you will see that there are a number of suite qualities listed, which we postulated for you in order to show how you can benefit from all the integration efforts that we are doing with our engineering teams. Next one, Thilo. look. And this then here in more detail, already outlined by me, are the suite qualities which, next one, Thilo, is not simply about the aspect that we are talking about these suite qualities exclusively or in as standalone suite qualities. No, very important for you to understand is that they have interdependencies, interlock with each other, and where then the suite qualities as a group, as joint forces, finally result into the business processes, for example, here, Source-to-Pay, that Thilo will talk about in more detail. Next one, Thilo, which I believe is already yours. So setting the stage, done by myself. Now looking forward to have Thilo, our subject matter expert here, together with you, explaining how Source-to-Pay is being offered to you as customers and partners. Thilo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carsten. Thank you very much, Larissa. Warm welcome to the SAP community on today's topic. As we said, the Source-to-Pay end-to-end process. We try to start with, let's say, the high-level view of what everybody faces today. Yeah, we have a lot of those buzzwords here. So we have hybrid clouds, hybrid landscapes, non-SAP systems, etc. We want to transform some things. We have on-premise solutions. There are big buzzwords like artificial intelligence, etc. And what does that mean for a digital process solution, which actually our SAP offering is? It translates into several, let's say, challenges that we face down here. Just some of them are listed here. And I tried to explain how we as SAP actually capture that complexity and try to cover it and have answers for all these different challenges. So the aim is that we sort and structure this for the Source-to-Pay process today, and that we provide some of the answers and ideas how to mitigate all these challenges. And in case if you're starting new with something like a digital process solution, you actually should make a plan. So first is really, how does SAP answer this plan? I see it in my daily business, talking to a lot of customers, IT departments, functional departments, whatever. The point is we have very fragmented decision-making in all our organizations worldwide, be it by business line, be it by regions, be it by different responsibilities. The point is that we look at this now holistically here, right? We are SAP and we want to have an intelligent enterprise. And as we claimed before, an intelligent enterprise is actually an integrated enterprise. How do we support this as SAP? I want to give a shout out. This is just an example that we as SAP have a foundation layer of an integration solution advisory methodology. And I try to use this now here as an example for what we will cover later on and what we face in our daily business. You see those 4 patterns that you should accept or assess your integration strategy, come up or design your hybrid integration platform, because we are not always having just one domain, but this will be covered shortly. And you should look at best practices for integration and enable and empower your employees. So why do I use this as an example? Please have a look at these different domains. And this is just a simplified overview. And we try to depict this. What are we actually talking about? Whenever we cover end-to-end processes, we see here different applications, business applications. We have user-centric applications on mobile apps, on tablets. We have chatbots, whatever. We have still typically an on-premise environment, for example. We could, of course, run everything in the cloud. We have different things, even sensors at real-world objects that provide information and integrate to all these different things. So the point here is what you should always keep in mind when you run such an end-to-end process. Make sure you have an overview of what are the different domains. Try to cluster those things. We have here, or we would focus on the on-prem to on-prem, cloud to on-prem. The typical landscape that we face will have multi of those domains. Yeah, there's not just a single one. That's the typical thing. And I try to just explain, have that in the back of your heads whenever you're aiming for an end-to-end integration thing. To even make it a bit more complex, but it also helps to understand what are we actually needing or in need of. We have different integration styles. Integration is a big word, and actually integration is not integration. My personal answer to everything is not that I'm a black and white guy, and my answer will be not yes or no. It will always be, it depends. And the question is, what does it depend on? So I try to provide here some of the perspectives. What are we talking about, and what is it actually depending on? On the left-hand side, most important for us in the transactional, let's say, digital processing is the process integration itself, that I have a continuation of the objects that I create and can execute end-to-end a digital process. Even in there, we have different use case patterns that we, for example, could differently address. Same is true for data integration. So we have ETL layers, or we have data virtualization, et cetera, et cetera. So things that orchestrate data so that they, for example, keep the master data clean, the data quality that we sometimes look at. This is another integration style because there's, let's say, another use case, as we describe it here, that addresses that. And typically this corresponds with SAP applications. So laying the foundation here that we always look about those talk about those different styles. We want to give you a holistic picture how actually the SAP Business Technology Platform and our approach to the intelligent enterprise is addressing all of that. Of course, we have cross use cases, for example, RPAs, that sometimes need a user integration and a UI integration to kind of mimic what you would do as a user in different applications. And also, if there is a process that is automated by this, step into different process steps, as just mentioned. So taking this into account, again, this is just a major shout out that what is it that we're addressing with the BTP? And this is actually what it does. It is the glue between all the business applications, and it empowers or enables all of that so that we can have integrated processes, we can have a seamless user experience, we can have a single inbox for our tasks that we need to execute, et cetera, et cetera. So within an SAP ecosystem, this is what is our central toolbox, providing the central services that are consumed by all SAP applications. This is our SAP strategy. We try to provide a platform, and the source-to-pay specialized applications, which we will just cover, are consuming those things. The difference is that if you are in an IT department, we are harmonizing and unifying the tools that you use for different, let's say, for all your use case patterns, which simplifies your job actually in the daily business. And what does it actually mean in the context of source-to-pay? So we are talking about, we have an integration layer. We have 2 sessions actually planned for this community end-to-end source-to-pay thing. Today, we will cover the high level, let's say, or aspects, what the suite qualities just introduced by Carsten will mean or do mean, and what is the value of those for our source-to-pay business applications. And in the next session, we will deep dive into the process integration, which we just introduced, focusing on transactional information and the flows between the different business applications. The integration suite is our central approach, how to manage that, and we will cover the different, let's say, the different stages of, we can have a managed gateway provided by SAP that has a specific content. We can have the integration suite in the base edition that covers some of the tool sets. And we have, of course, then an enterprise edition of the integration suite that is a full-blown middleware. Why do I say that? Whenever we talk about integration, please keep in mind, and I know a lot of you are already aware, we have always, when it comes to integration, each communication has a sender definition, a receiver definition, and potentially a man in the middle. Whenever we talk about hybrid integration, we always need that man in the middle. When we talk cloud to cloud, we could leave that man in the middle out if both of those applications understand each other natively, which is the strategy of SAP to say, we have a cloud to cloud connection, a direct connectivity between the things. These applications themselves understand each other. Sorry for repeating a lot of those words, but it is what it is that we're talking about software. We are now looking at the source-to-pay processes. What is our portfolio from an SAP perspective covering? From a process breadth and depth, we cover the source or strategic parts, sourcing, contracting, and even the category strategization to digitize what are you actually going to do in the execution of I search discovery for a supplier and I execute and award something that I put out as a bid and receive quotes on, etc. Planning and forecasting is more focused on the supply chain activity. So I don't like the wording, but it is more the aspect of the direct procurement, meaning everything that I need for my own sellable products. So things that I provide to the market, be it services or be it a product itself, something that is tangible that I can touch. So all that goes into that. We are actually planning to have the right resources at the right time, all the P's, etc. So this is what we digitize here in that, let's say, step of the process. Buy and deliver, that's the concrete part, lay it down to or facing the user group and the personas who are actually executing. People in the field and your organization that need something, and people who process the financial objects. And in the end, we have the execution, the invoicing, and the payments of those things. Finally, we do all this to come up with a profit and loss statement and the balance sheet and to report it to the outside world. The applications that are actually, or what is covered in all of that is that the ERP itself, the S4HANA solution. Of course, we have a 50 or 51 years actually now history of providing ERP, enterprise resource planning solutions. Our newest iteration is the S4HANA system, and it has been introduced in 2015, as you know. Now we are moving into, this is the backbone, this is the core of all our digital processes. When it comes to intelligent spend and business networks, this core is enriched for a specialized process, best of breed applications that we acquired on the way, as introduced by Carsten as well. 10 years or nearly 11 years ago, we acquired the whole SAP Ariba portfolio that are providing specialized applications that enrich the processes that are covered in the core itself. So in the core, we just have, let's say, simple processes. And whenever we go deeper into the functional process, what is it that a persona executing this should do? This is what SAP Ariba provides for supplier management, for the sourcing aspects, for the contracting, and also for the buying and aspect, especially in the requisitioning part. So meaning structuring the demand that arises from people, not from the system. So meaning not a machine-indicated, plan-indicated demand, but a user-indicated, human beings interacting with software. That's what Ariba provides. And another specialized application stack is the SAP Fieldglass solutions or portfolio that is focused more on the services side of the house, especially in the external workforce, contingent labor, etc., the execution here. Whenever these applications, so think about, we talk now only the internal corporate processes. And of course, you always interact with somebody else. You're doing business. So, and in all the tiny little steps, we have collaboration with external parties. In our case, most of the times, these guys are suppliers. They are supplying services, products whenever we need it. And they might even co-innovate with us. We are communicating on a lot of different stages with the outside world. And all these collaboration scenarios, whenever a third party is communicating with you as a corporation, to capture this is provided by the SAP Business Network. So that's the outside communicator. Years ago, SAP ECC, we just had a box and we had satellite systems that were communicating. And just case by case, you had another satellite system. So now SAP Business Network provides all of it. We don't have 100 satellite systems, just phrasing a number. We now consolidated this into one collaboration layer. Yeah. The technology platform provides the central services that are consumed in all those steps. And now let's take a look at some of those examples. What are we actually facing here? We said earlier, we are talking about user integration. Today, when we look into just the cloud applications, we have a file upload, or we automate this via web service from an ERP actually. So we have provide an add-on, the Integration Suite Managed Gateway, which was formerly known as CIG. So we provide a process that can be automated to move data from A to B. Actually, that is kind of either you use it standalone, the cloud solution, but you want to have an end-to-end process. So it would be best case, you have one dedicated solution that covers the user management and one dedicated solution that holistically orchestrates all your access management throughout processes. This is what the BTP service of the Cloud Identity Services provides. And it includes the provisioning of a user. It also provides the authentication so that a user can identify himself and access the solution. And it's also supporting the access management. So when a user leaves a certain business area and he moves in the corporation, so that all his access rights are actually maintained correctly to the timely manner. So the things that are not forgotten, or sometimes they are forgotten. Yeah. Why are we mentioning this? The SAP Ariba solutions, for example, as I said earlier, for a single sign-on or for the user provisioning part, we just provided 3 channels. So meaning from the ERP, file upload, or via web service, or the user interface itself. Using the Intelligent Enterprise, now we have a service that is providing directly those users and can provision it. There's a SCIM API behind the scenes to do that. We are not using a man in the middle. So whatever solution, user store you have, you are now enabled, or the Intelligent Enterprise solutions enable this to be consumed by the cloud applications. We have a single sign-on with all SAP within the whole SAP platform. All the applications follow the same thing. And that is something that is unique and harmonizes the user handling and the access management. We target, as also introduced by Carsten, that all SAP applications, independent of it is source-to-pay, but this is now our source-to-pay stream today, that these applications follow a seamless user experience so that they all look the same and kind of feel the same, meaning that I find my profile all the time on the same spot, that I can have the taskbar always on the same thing. I don't need to introduce an application. If it is from SAP, they should all work and look the same. This is what we aim for. And the examples here of guided buying and our mobile shopping app with the graphical interface and the tiles that are there, and again, the taskbar and the access to notifications and the profile, etc., all being on the same place. This is what we have as a unified user experience and what we bring to the table as SAP from a platform side. That also is true for the, call it the third-party interface. So the SAP Business Network is actually a web UI in this case. The web UI pretty much looks the same as we now learned from the different business applications that you own in your corporation. So this is what a supplier would see if he uses the Business Network in a web UI. There's the application, there's the profile, there's the taskbar. It is structuring all your processes. And again, you need the key insights, and these are enabled as well by central services. So for example, the Business Network to come up with those reports here, widgets, they're using embedded SAC for that. And we will cover that later as well. Another aspect of integration is actually the task execution. For example, me as an employee, I have access to an HR solution. I have access to a procurement solution where I can request stuff. And of course, for my daily business, depending on the department I work for, I have access for those business application and components. And all the tasks that are due or that are sent to me that I need to execute in my daily business, this is moved into a single execution line. How does it look like actually? We have then in the task center, how is it supported? The SAP Ariba solutions. Behind the scenes, we need a user integration, and we need here a thing or an object integration for the task that is created and generated in that component to move into that central inbox, which is the SAP Task Center, provided and powered by the Business Technology Platform. What is the difference? Before, you had all those different tasks in your individual components. So the user needed to log in into each application to see what's actually due and what the system generated. Now we have a single entry point for all the activities that are due in whatever you have access to, whatever you need to do in your daily life. Yeah. This is true for the SAP Ariba procurement solutions, for the SAP Ariba sourcing solutions. This is true for the field glass solutions. So this is what we aim for as SAP, to move it in these tasks in from the backend, the ERP, S4HANA, and also the specialized applications that enrich the digital processes, as I mentioned earlier. The cross-product analytics. Currently, same thing as we had before. A reporting engine is included in all of the different components and layers of software that you use. They carry different capabilities, and actually they are all managed differently, meaning that if you are in the IT department, you would need to govern multiple tools, and the functional department would need to learn multiple tools, how to use it, how to set up a report, how to structure data, how to create a filter, etc., etc. What we have with the SAP Intelligent Enterprise approach, we all harmonized it into a unique and a central service. This will be the visualization layer, will be provided by the SAP Analytics Cloud, the SAC. And these things will be embedded into all our applications. So the specialized applications like Ariba, like even S4HANA, we have embedded SAC there, and like the field classroom and the business network. So also on the business network, some of the reports and the intelligence provided there are actually executed and visualized by the SAC. Does that mean that you need a license for this? In this case, we just say it is empowered and technically used, but it is not. It is an internal interface that we as SAP provide from a platform perspective. That actually means that you as an IT department and as a functional user, you would only maintain a single solution. One engine, if you once have adopted to use that tool, then it is leveraged in all SAP components, independent of Source-to-Pay, but of course in the Source-to-Pay applications that we just mentioned. Can you then build, as we said, the cross-product analytics? Yes, because in parallel, we are working on moving the data into a central repository, so that before we had all the components had their own data storage. So all the data repositories, if you call it like this. And to find or to produce cross-product report, you would need to move the data out of that repository into a central one, massage it, provide it with the structure that you aim for, and harmonize it, kind of align it to the data that is in all the other components to provide that cross-product analytics. And this is actually something that we as SAP now cover holistically, providing a central data repository and providing all the semantics to the data already in that layer, so that you can, from from scratch, or create your own reports, but we also provide pre-packaged report based on all SAP information. So out of these specialized applications, you easily now can also include these into your analytics layer and provide cross-product analytics by using those central services. The data repository or storage, of course, will not be done by the SAC, because as I mentioned, it is just a visualization layer. If you have data that needs, let's say, I will quote it massage here, then you would use the SAP Datasphere service as well. And of course, we have HANA Cloud, etc., for if you really want to move information and store a lot of information there. Now, going back to integration and how does it look like from an end-to-end process in a mix of applications. When we have in SAP speech, we have business objects actually that we digitize and that move between the different components or user applications. We provide you a central repository for end-to-end business blueprints with the focus on sub-processes, meaning not source-to-pay as a whole, but you can look into that repository, which is publicly available on the SAP Business Accelerator Hub. And once you decided for using some of our solutions, of course, you can also use the, we come later to this now, to the application lifecycle management, where SAP for me as a central entry point provides all this information as well for you to kind of structure your business blueprints or the processes, right? So this is something that now is also harmonized. You don't need to go from, let's say, a single application web page to another application web page, et cetera, and try to make up your mind, how does this all fit together? And if you're lucky you find some information, we provide a central repository where you can easily go in. Again, it's a central landing page. You look and select the processes that you want to discover. And then coming back to what we said earlier, you made a plan before. What is your environment? What is your, let's say, corporate landscape looking like? If you're looking into the domain of enterprise, meaning on-premise ERP, to cloud applications or cloud-to-cloud applications. If you're, let's say, already on a cloud ERP, which of course is in favor of SAP Store, but as all of us know, we will not have more IT specialists. I guess the demand for digitizing all these things and finding solutions and help is increasing more and more. Same is true after you are, let's say, entitled to this cloud application or software as a service in this case. You also want to have a single repository for that message monitoring. You also want to have a central repository that supports the provisioning of these cloud services. This is something that we as SAP provide for you as well. And we have the cloud application lifecycle management where these source-to-pay cloud services fall under as well. Same is true for the BTP services once or if they are used. Single repository and a single access point to monitor all your SAP solutions. Same is for the integration automation, so the setup, whatever you use there. Before everything scattered around, we improved and tried to harmonize a lot of our documentation and move it into a single execution engine so that you can have automated integration services that provide you and guide you step by step through the different points, what you need to do at which component level, etc. So you have a real hands-on guidance. Step A executed in system A, step B executed in system C, etc., etc. Everything that you need to do in context of what you try to achieve. One of the biggest advantages that we want to cover today and what is the integration value that we have in the source-to-pay layer is actually the aligning of the domain models within the specialized applications and the central integration service for these things. What does that actually mean? We learned, or we mentioned earlier, that we acquired some other application stacks, especially in the source-to-pay area, not only Ariba and Fieldglass, but also Concur in this case, for the travel, for the T&E, yeah. And these applications, of course, had their own language, how they were built up, their own object model, their own structure. They need to align, and this is what we actually now execute. All of you customers, be it in Germany or be it around the world in the ASUG or in the German user group, yeah, DSAG, you said if SAP has a stamp on those solutions, there should be SAP inset in that, yeah. And this is what we answer with the Intelligent Enterprise. What it will enable is the out-of-the-box integration. So once you have an entitlement for a cloud service, the data is moving behind the scenes because of your entitlement, and you can immediately use the time to value is minimized, and you can immediately use that cloud application with the data that is coming from your SAP platform. So one domain model that is focused on the objects themselves to be understood everywhere, single domain. And how are they distributed and orchestrated? That is a central master data service. This is called Master Data Integration, MDI. So first, the definition. The definition is publicly available. The same path, if you go to the Business Accelerator Hub, and you can there scroll for the one domain model. There is a selection on the top of the web page. You can have a look at what did we already structure? So you can real-time look into that. How far are we? Which objects are already in that single domain model? Do we have objects that are so special that are not, let's say, the lingua franca that every component needs? For example, the cost center. Every component needs the cost center, be it from a hire to retire and success factors, or the procurement solutions in Source-to-Pay. There are some special things like the procurement or the plant, yeah. These entities only exist in the, let's say, subdomain, right? If we only look at Source-to-Pay, you might not need a purchasing organization everywhere, yeah. So we have the big domain and we have subdomains, but these all should be aligned. We started with the big one, the central piece. Mentioned the cost center, and we have the company code. The business partner as supplier is also something that is shared everywhere and is a foundation layer for our Source-to-Pay solutions. Payment terms, WBS and partners. This is something that is now enabled on top, where the cloud applications can consume these objects via that channel. So in the end, the idea is that the objects that are already in your ERP solution and defined as organizational elements, master data, that they can flow through that central service and can be consumed by the cloud application as soon as the service is enabled. For Source-to-Pay specifically, we look at, let's say, a phased approach, iterations. Today, we have, as we said before, the add-on on a SAP ERP, which is the Integration Suite Managed Gateway add-on. It is available for ECC systems and S/4HANA systems. And this actually orchestrates from point to point the information, be it master data or transactional data. Today, or in this case, we focus on the master data. The next thing is there shouldn't be a man in the middle or no add-on necessary. That directly from the system where DIF out framework, the information is sent over to another endpoint and consumed by the cloud applications. This will be done by native OData APIs. So we introduced earlier, there's a different domain between or now we have cloud to cloud. There's a direct connectivity and not a mediated connectivity where we need that translator in the middle. If you remember, we said sender, receiver, translator in the middle. Now we say sender and receiver have the same structure and are able to consume the information on both ends and don't need a man in the middle anymore. This is what we try to achieve then here with the master data integration, as we just said, based on the ODM and some additional information that will be supported by the master data native integration, which is a service that orchestrates between the different Ariba applications. So for today, we covered a lot of those aspects. The processes that how does an end-to-end process transactional look like and how can I establish this? This is something that we want to look at next week with direct connectivity, or actually you give you a glimpse, a demo of how does it look like in the system if I as a user start in one application, start a business process, execute it, and move through the solutions along the way as with an integrated platform. The source-to-pay process, the span that we have, in this case, if we can separate like this, the indirect material part, so things that I don't use for my product or my sellable products that I offer to the market, and the direct material, this is what we mentioned earlier. And in the middle, we have the services and the contingent labor. These are aspects or process types in this case that we cover. Where did we start and how far are we with transitioning them to, let's say, that mediated process to a cloud-to-cloud next generation communication, if we call it like this. So we started to focus on those indirect material stuff with the Ariba applications in 2021 and are improving. So we don't start now. The journey is already initiated. The intelligent enterprise strategy has been introduced in 2018 and we are in execution mode. Yeah. But looking into the communication of those direct material stuff, this is the focus for this year and ongoing. And let's say some of the direct material improving in that supply chain collaboration. This is the future plan to have, again, the direct connectivity also for those messages going forward. As mentioned, touching the system and what is the integration layer, what needs to be configured, the scope items and these things. This is something that we want to have a look at next week. I would love to stop for today. We learned that we have different integration styles. So what is it that we actually integrate? We have different integration domains. How do we need to integrate from on-prem to cloud, or is it a user to a system or a thing to an on-prem solution, etc.? We learned that a toolbox that provides answers and enables all of this is provided with the business technology platform, and that the source-to-pay solutions within the portfolio of S/4HANA, SAP Ariba solutions, and the SAP Fieldglass solutions, and the SAP Business Network are already consuming those central provided services, and you can execute these things along the way. You will be provided with the documentation and additional material once we present the PDF after the recording. And I would now like to hand over to Larissa if we have any questions in the chat.
Thank you, Thilo. Thanks for your presentation and deep dive in source-to-pay process. I can only encourage our audience to bring up questions in the chat. Although I saw a lot of likes, but I can't see any questions yet, but let us give the audience some time for this. And I might bring up the question that is actually very often addressed, especially by the user groups. And the question is, all is great. I understand where SAP is going and the future is in the cloud. And all these new and fancy things are working out of the box. So this is our future. However, the customers are still running successfully on SAP ERP or even ECC on-premise versions.
Mhm.
So the question is, from what you have showcased today, those capabilities, do they also apply to SAP ERP or ECC landscape?
So, thank you very much, Larissa, for the question. Actually, that's really the elephant in the room whenever we have the conversation, right? We cannot get around it. First of all, of course, we have a cloud strategy as SAP. So yes, we provide things in the cloud first before we have a pattern that is called downporting before we provide capabilities in on-premise solutions. This is true for S/4HANA itself. We released the S/4HANA as a next generation of our ERP solutions, as the latest generation. The ERP itself, now coming to exact the question, I said earlier, the answer is not yes and no. The answer is it depends. So, and what does it depend on? Some of the services that the business technology platform provides are even consumable or can be leveraged by an SAP ERP. But of course, what we said earlier as well, the structure of these ECC systems varies and is still different from what we have, let's say, in our latest solutions. And we support, especially if we talk about some of the latest communication technology, when we come to the communication styles, OData, APIs, etc., eventful communication. So can I have an initiating event in an ECC system that triggers the communication towards the cloud platform, etc.? These concepts have not yet or have not been established to that way in the ECC itself. From an SAP perspective, we focus on the S/4HANA solutions. We try to, again, provide the latest and greatest innovation in the cloud solutions themselves. For the source-to-pay process, via the mediation of that integration suite managed gateway, what we will showcase next week, we are enabling to bridge both worlds so that you can connect to an ECC system and you can connect also in the future to an S/4HANA system and have the specialized business process run in between. The same is true if we have, let's say, a complex area. We have that central procurement application, which kind of will orchestrate, will be the handler in the middle between all those applications, including ECC solutions. Yeah. And this is a question then that comes down to enterprise architecture and the, let's say, architecture or landscape that the customers have in their existing world. And we have a conversation on this, and I hope, of course, you can reach out and use the community to get more information about all those things if you face such a difficult thing. And maybe we have a question in between now in the meantime in the chat.
So far, I can't see questions in the chat, but this might be also a good indication as you've shared the information in a very clear and comprehensive way. I've also posted the links to the session next week and to the link to the series with all the episodes that were streamed so far. So feel free to leverage those links for your education and enriching your expertise. With this, as I can't see questions in the chat, I can only thank you, our audience, for being with us. Thank you very much, Thilo and Karsten, for bringing up this topic and sharing it with the community. As I've already indicated, the materials will be available in PDF format in the description to this video shortly after the stream is finished. And feel free to download the PDF, look at the information that was provided, and of course, leverage the additional resources that are mentioned in this PDF. With this, thank you very much and bye-bye, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you very much. Same.
Thanks a lot.